All right, welcome back. And now we are inviting the first corporate for Bazaar. Joining us now is Girish Kousgi, Managing Director and CEO at Canfin Homes. Good morning, Girish. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Well, NBFCs and housing finance companies are the flavor of the season. Stocks have been doing well. But first, let me begin with the troubling questions. What is the percentage of borrowers or loan amount that did not pay even a single EMI in the moratorium period, and how many have sought restructuring?
Good morning, Lata. I think morat is now over and out. It has played out very well. But just to give the numbers, we had total morat of 28%, both part 1 and part 2 put together. Out of 28, 50% of it, that is 14% of customers, didn't pay even a single EMI for 6 months. Now, having said that, we have seen 2 months of repayments. That is September and October, and we've seen half of November. Now, if you look at the collection percentage in September, it was 93%. In October, it was more than 93%. It was 93.5%. We should not get carried away looking at the collection percentage immediately after a moratorium period, for the simple reason, since customers have not paid for 6 months, and there was maybe loss of partial or full income only for part of the period, maybe 2 or 3 months, customer would be left with excess cash, and therefore the collection percentage would obviously increase after the morat period. So if you look at our collection percentage, it is much more in September and October compared to pre-COVID levels. We expect collection percentage to drop by about 2 to 2.5%. If we compare with the pre-COVID levels, it will be still much higher than that. So we are pretty comfortable on the morat. And I think all the 14%, 28%, part morat, full morat, delinquent, all that is now out, since we have seen 2 clear months of repayment.
Okay. Mr. Kousgi, good morning. I'm interested to know what's happening with loan growth, because that one has been at an all-time low. Do you expect loan growth to pick up in the second half of the year, and what would the guidance be?
Obviously, immediately after, during the morat and after morat, I think it was more of a strategy for us to manage the book, because if the book goes bad, it will take at least 3 years to get back book to shape. However, as far as business is concerned, once demand is back, it's only a question of a quarter. Now, having said that, we've been doing very well. Quarter 1, if you see, we had done little over 400 crores. Quarter 2 was more than double of Q1. And Q3, we are seeing good traction. So I don't think so. It's only a question of time, maybe another month or 2, because if you look at this month, it is far better than last month. So with every passing month, we are seeing, demand picking up. So there might be a shortfall about 10, 15, 20% compared to same month last year. But I think that is easily manageable. So this year we would be a little short compared to last year. No, that's very clearly because demand is not completely back. It is to the level of 80% now. It is far better than what we expected maybe 3 or 4 months back. Maybe another 3 to 4 months back, we expect demand to be close to 100, may not be 100. In Q1, we can see 100. So I think that is not a worry at all.
Q1 of next year, you will see 100, you're saying?
In Q4, we might see 90 to 95%. I'm just saying 5% less because developer market has still not, they've still not come back, because there is some pain, at least in the affordable space, more so in non-affordable. So it will take
Girish,
at least.
This is a bit surprising coming from you, because the Bangalore builders told us that demand is very good. Generally, their Q2 numbers have been good. And secondly, we were also expecting that this announcement that even if the price is lower than the circle rate, you don't have to pay income tax on it. These kinds of things will boost loan demand. You don't think so?
No, it will definitely boost demand. I think that is why we have seen, pickup in demand in the last few months, because there have been series of measures taken by RBI and Government of India. That is why we are seeing demand coming back. So now, if you ask me honestly, whether it is an affordable or non-affordable, is the demand back to 100%? The answer is no. Definitely it is no. And this is one. Number 2, very clearly we are focusing on asset quality. Anyway, we are high on liquidity. So nothing to worry on liquidity, nothing to worry on asset quality, because even for last quarter, we showed, I think our NPA was 0.72. Even if I include deemed NPA, it is 0.78. So it's only a question of another 2-3 months time, where demand will be back. So this month probably will hit about 80% of peak levels.
Okay.
So I think another yeah.
Okay. So can you tell us, I mean, is it competition from banks that's also impacting demand? And what about your margins? What would a sustainable margin be going ahead?
See, what has happened during the morat period and maybe post morat is that since opportunity outside is less, there has been lot of BT business, right? Since banks have the advantage of lower cost, they are in a better position to either retain the book or grow the book little better than HFCs and NBFCs. Now, this is a fact. Now, having said that, today we have a scheme now, our starting rate is 7%. So if you look at some of the big banks, I think the differential is only 0.05%. Since we have an advantage of COF, our incremental COF is about 6.4, 6.5%. We are able to play that out very well. So it has got nothing to do with demand or the growth or book retention. It's only a question of time. We are seeing certain set of institutions, they are able to probably do business because of more BT ins, right? So we have a strong retention team. We're able to retain the book. And in another couple of months, you can see we'll be hitting close to 95%. And probably after March, we might hit 100%. Maybe we'll try to gain market share post March. Number two, on the margins, I've told this before as well. I think for a HFC, if you look at the profile of Canfin, we are almost 100% retail, no corporate exposure, no high ticket lending, and no developer exposure. And therefore, we will be pretty happy if our NIM is upwards of 3. Today it is 4.09 and a spread of around 2.4%. Today it is 2.8% plus. So the current NIM and spread is not sustainable because we have a very aggressive strategy for onboarding customers by dropping rates and also aggressive strategy to retain the book, to retain existing customers. And therefore, this NIM and spread is not sustainable. However, we will maintain NIM of more than 3% and spread of more than 2.4%.
Okay, got that. That's some precise guidance that you're giving us. Girish Kousgi, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Have a great 2021 if we don't speak before that. Okay,
Welcome. Thank you.
That's the word coming in from Canfin Homes. I think it's a very candid and very clear assessment that we may not get to, FY21 loan growth, there can't be a growth. We will only get to FY20 levels in the fourth quarter or maybe 90% there. And it's only in Q1 of next year that they expect to increase the amount of loans they give. But markets now opening and it's about 0.8% lower, so 100 points knocked off on the Nifty. It is going to be largely led by the banks because, the Nifty Bank rate we don't have yet, but there could be a series of, Axis Bank, HDFC Bank, SBI are all showing cuts between 1 and 2%. And the one stock in the green, which is leading from the front, is Hero Moto, 1.5 higher. Wipro TCS also, the buyback dates have been announced. And maybe that's also having a positive impact.
Okay, a couple of more stocks, actually, aviation stocks have been looking good. The data, the domestic traffic growth has gone up 30% in the month of October on a month-on-month basis. SpiceJet, of course, has additional positives going for itself. So that one's up almost about 4% Keep an eye out on that. Tanla Platforms is one stock that has been defying gravity. So that one's up about 2% And then you have a couple of these names from the pharma space that have been doing pretty well. So do keep an eye out. Lakshmi Vilas Bank, another day running. That one is down about 20% on expected lines perhaps. And just keep an eye out on some of these names in the power space also looking pretty good this morning. But I wanted to get Prakash in on this. Prakash, some of these plays, like Tanla Platforms have been doing exceptionally well. You think that whole story is played out or is there more to go for an investor who's perhaps missed the bus here?
Yeah, I know it's a tough call, especially, anecdotally when you see these kind of stocks run up so quickly and with such quantum, you do tend to start questioning whether it's just fundamentals or scarcity, low float. But, interestingly, Sonia, this was something which was kind of in the offing of, because you had Root Mobile, which came, redefined that space, attracted a lot of attention and a very liberal P multiple. Tanla was doing the same kind of a business, well more established, well more diversified in terms of its client mix. And of course, the debacle after the Nokia arrangement went off a few years back, they had to get out of it in terms of debt restructuring and all of that. So the salience was there, but whether the salience is worth all this price, that of course we'll have to wait to see, because I think there's a little bit of a scarcity premium that's playing out in some of these platform businesses. So now, of course, the run-up has been too sharp for you to make that kind of alpha beyond this. But I think on dips, you would have to look at this or maybe some other platform businesses, especially related to the telecom space. So I think that's a great space to look at, telecom and technology. That's the intersection that you would have to find some great buys in.
Let's take the 9-10 calls then. Pre-open has settled about 100 points lower on the Nifty, 400 lower on the Bank Nifty. Ashwini, what's your trade?
See, trending market, each time Bank Nifty is down 450, buying out of money calls often is a good strategy. Similarly, on the Nifty, if we open at 12,840, your stops are fairly nearby, basically 12,780, about 12,800. So that way, try to buy the dip once the market turns and starts to make high of the day. Having said that, I think IndusInd Bank moved very strongly from some sort of consolidation. So on a dip, this should be bought with a stop say around 820. Adjust the stop, and maybe in the days to come you could get levels of 860.
Okay, Sudarshan, what are you going with?
Well, I'll close my long positions and step aside. I'm not buying any dips today. We'll see how the market behaves in the next couple of days. IGL is a buy with a stop at 435 and a target of 491.
Okay, and Mitesh, how about you? I mean, it's going to be a weak start for sure, but will you buy the dip, and what is the 9-10 call?
I think around the index, yes, around 10,850 might attempt a long, let's see. But on the stock side, I would choose the short stocks because we have had more of long bias and positions in the last few days. So Dabur is a sell with a stop at 510.5 for targets of 486.
Okay, Ashwini, what would you do with Nifty Bank? I mean, that looks like is going to give you a bigger dip. Will you be a buyer in Nifty Bank and bank stocks any?
I would think so. All banking stocks are positive and strong. So, this sort of 500-point dip often gets turned around. So, the first dip you have to buy, a lot of other people will buy. So, you will probably get an exit at some point during the day. I don't see a total collapse of the Bank Nifty. So, maybe 500 points lower is a good time to buy, say the 29,500 monthly call or the 30,000 call.
Okay, some stocks that could stand out today. Hero MotoCorp, of course, on the back of strong retail sales. SpiceJet on the back of the news flow on the 737 MAX. And you have a couple of other big gainers like Tanla Platforms that continue to move about 1% higher. But we have more news coming in from the Nestle management. The chairman and managing director says that they are on track to deliver the 11th straight quarter of double-digit growth. Listen in.
I think the core elements of strategy, which is on penetration-led volume growth, that remains. That is the reason why we've had 11 quarters of this growth. Number two is a strong focus on innovation, renovation, and the new platforms of growth. That also remains. And number three is, as we move forward, I think what we've observed in the last couple of years, and it has been exacerbated in the last couple of quarters, is what I call the resurgence of Bharat. Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4 towns and rural markets, in fact, are doing extremely well. Urban growth has clearly, for us, improved as compared to quarter two. See, quarter two in urban India for Nestle grew at about 0.7%, and rural India grew at 1.7%. In quarter three, urban India has grown at about 6%, and rural India has grown at 12%, so almost twice the factor. So urban India has started to come back, but the strength of urban India has been more in the smaller towns. Urban centers are still affected, not so much because of consumption or income related issues, but predominantly because of operating issues.
Okay, well, we have to see that interview will play, of course, through the day. We still have a little bit of time. Coal India is showing, okay, yeah, Coal India interim dividend of 7.5 rupees. Coal India is starting 5% lower, and that's largely because there is a huge interim dividend that they are paying out. Prakash is still with us. Prakash, if the dip comes, I mean, which it is, for a 500-point lower Nifty Bank, are you buying any of the financials?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think, this is you would need to buy in the next hour or so, because the second half could probably see a very different commentary coming through. I think Bajaj Finance, some of these larger banks like Kotak, ICICI definitely would give you that opportunity to get into that short-term tactical trade of sorts. I would certainly be looking forward to this dip and buying into it.
All right. Prakash, thank you very much for being with us through the pre-market and giving us your advice on several stocks. It does look that we're going to have a troubled start, but it's not very deep in trouble. I mean, we are still at shouting distance of 13,000, about 100 down on the Nifty and about 450 down on the Nifty Bank is where we appear to be starting. And then we will take it from there. There are a lot of post-dividend stocks as well. So watch out for that when you see some big TTK Prestige. I think there are quite a few companies which have record date for their dividend today. Okay, there goes the bell, and we are starting, okay, just 95 points lower, 96 points, 98 now. So it's 12,840, 850, the starting rate, and about 300 off on the Sensex. So 43,890, 43,900 is the starting point. And now rapidly you're seeing some bit of support coming at lower levels. In the half a minute itself, the start is not so bad. The Nifty Bank is not starting 450, but more like 300 down. And now even that is reducing a bit rapidly. So many people are buying the dips. What's lower? Coal India, again, that's only dividend adjusted. Other stocks that are showing a bit of red: L&T, Tata Motors, HDFC, Power Grid, Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, many banks in the top 10 list of laggards. That's ICICI Bank, Axis Bank and HDFC. And then you have Eicher Motors, Bharti Airtel, HDFC Bank also down about 1%. I'm only reading the 1%ers in terms of losses. But countering that is a big 3.7% gain in Hero Moto, and following it BPCL. So some interest being shown by some parties is taken positively. Then you have TCS, Wipro, HCL Tech. The IT pack is doing well. Among the banks, it's only Kotak Mahindra that is in the green. That's the list of green stocks.
Well, it's a good opening for the mid-caps. I'm saying good because despite the big fall in global markets, the mid-cap index is down just 0.3%. There's a lot of buying that we're seeing at lower levels, which is, just indicative of the sentiment. Thomas Cook is up 9% this morning. SpiceJet is up 6.5%. Tanla Platforms is up 2.5%. LIC Housing Finance is up 1%. There's a lot of buying now seen in the large cap IT names. TCS, Wipro are trading in the green. So the market is using every opportunity to buy into some of these broader market stocks, that is. Just keep an eye out on Vedanta, up almost 4.5% right now. Tata Motors DVR, that has been gaining ground for quite a bit. BPCL also up in the green, up about 2%. On the downside, you have some PSU banks, Bank of Baroda in the red, REC, ICICI Bank, Lakshmi Vilas Bank, of course, second day running 20% lower circuit there. Federal Bank, Bandhan Bank. So the Bank Nifty is a bit weak. But for the mid-cap index now, it's almost moving into green territory. So don't lose sight of that. Now the mid-cap index is down just about 30 odd points. I'm trying to get the market breadth on the screen. It's in favor of declines, about 950 stocks. But just look at the movers. Hero MotoCorp is now up 3.5%. So the strong retail sales has caused a big spike up in that stock. A lot of consumption names in the broader markets doing well. Interglobe Aviation up about 1.5%. Bata is up 1.5%. Ipca Labs have been a strong gainer lately. Real estate stocks like Prestige Estates also looking good. So Anuj, how would you read this opening? And the dip in the mid caps is getting bought. Would you take that as a positive sign?
You know, Sonia, this is absolutely as per script. The first half perhaps belonging to IT stocks, like we said, you know, they could outperform because there's a bit of a risk off. But at some point, the dip will get bought. Now, you know, on days like today, there's always a second dip. So that's why, you know, you don't want to just jump the gun and say, okay, the dip has been bought. You want to see how things go. But yes, the mid caps are seeing buying. I think Bata is a stock that we've been talking about for the last 3-4 days now. Yesterday in closing bell also it was discussed as one of the stocks where at least there's some room. So obviously the market's still focused on some of these stocks. So the first temptation is to buy the dip in the mid caps. I think that's worked out. I think on the bank nifty, you want to see till 10 a.m. what is the hourly low, and then perhaps make that as your reference point. You know, it's sitting on the bank nifty sitting on 6,000-7,000 points of gain. So obviously it can lose 1,000 points and still be in an upside. But as of now, I think you would still want to see if the dip gets bought or not. But Ashwani, how have you read into the market opening, and is there any trade here?
It's a mild downside. The Nifty futures, I think, 12,890. So you should try to buy into this decline, even on the bank Nifty. And you know, once the market finds buying, I think this sort of a dip will easily get absorbed. So we bought 30,000 monthly calls. So a bit of, you know, 50, 100 points up and down you can manage. But once the FII is back, I think these sort of dips will easily get gobbled up.
Okay, and Mitesh, your approach?
Yeah, Anuj, I think, you know, we've added long positions on IGL and L&T Finance. I think this doesn't look like a serious dip, but again, I've not traded the index, but I would keep a close watch on 12,850, 830 zone. If we don't break that, then I think all should be well, and we should again try and attempt to get past 12,950.
Okay, gentlemen, thanks a lot for taking us through the market opening. It's really been a very strong opening. Just keep an eye on LIC Housing Finance. That's had a breakaway gap. It's out of F&O ban. Yesterday, Tata Motors came out of F&O ban, and you saw that big move on that stock. Today, LIC Housing has had that kind of a
Today, Bajaj
gap
Finance
up.
is already in the green.
Yes, so I think that a lot of these NBFC names have been strong, and you know they are being bought on dips. S. Krishna Kumar is now joining us, Chief Investment Chief Investment Officer at Sundaram Mutual Fund. Krishna, good morning. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Good morning.
Yeah, you know, of course, this is a time where a lot of people are, you know, asking themselves that, you know, we may have missed the rally. It's been one of the most hated rallies, right? Because a lot of people may have missed out. But incrementally, how should one approach this market?
Yeah, I think most of the uncertainties are now well behind us. You know, both from a domestic economy perspective, we seem to have come back to near pre-COVID levels, except a few high-intensive sectors of multiplexes or airlines and tourism, which will come back in the next quarter or so. Globally, I think the uncertainty of the US elections is broadly behind us. We expect a moderately positioned government to come in from a policy perspective, which is good. The Fed has reiterated its stance to keep liquidity going for a couple of years. You know, first signs of tapering or rate hikes could be, you know, fairly a year away or more, including the Eurozone. I think they still have a lot of pump priming to do. And the other risk in terms of the virus, I think though there's a second wave, the vaccine is just, probably a few weeks away, which will hedge it. So to large extent, I think most of the negativity is behind us. We should continue to build on the equity end of the asset allocation. The rally has been more into the large caps, given the liquidity that's come through. The next wave in terms of market move would be the liquidity moves into more riskier asset classes, you know, in the EMs like mid caps, small caps, signs of which are already visible. The underperformance of this mid and small caps will correct itself in the next 12 months, is my belief. So we should position ourselves more there.
Okay. Mid and small caps. Krishna, good morning. Pleasure having you with us. If you can give more guidance to our viewers, mid and small caps is a large terrain. So, where would you position yourself? Would it be in this PLI kind of stocks? Would it be textiles because the PLI is expected? Some more color.
So I think if you look at the rally from March lows, there were three phases basically, right? The first phase was the defensives, which are more key essential sectors, which were continuing to chug along. The next phase of the rally marked some of the the opening up trades that happened as we got into the automotive sector, some of the consumer low end discretionary products, etc. And also the materials bit came along. In the last phase, where you're going through, given that the financial health of the economy is far better, we see that the banking and the NBFC sector, which have been a bit of a laggard earlier, is now playing out. So this is an area where, particularly in the mid-cap side, at the small end of the banking space, the small finance banks, the NBFCs, etc., have had a terrible run in the previous 2 years. So they're all kind of catching up with the kind of liquidity that's available and the balance sheet recap that's been done across the space. So that's a big area of financials that we would be positive on to add, basically. Also, from a cyclicals perspective, the trade is moving away from expensive defensive sectors like FMCG, pharma, and moving into more of the cyclicals, basically, including consumer discretionary cyclicals like retail, which are seeing a good improvement, including the food retail, the grocers, and also on the consumer durable side. So these are also the next sectors which will continue to derive good demand and grow faster. The materials sector, including the building materials, which we think is a big play on the government's push on housing, basically. We're seeing a big thrust from the government on the housing space. So anything connected with housing finance, HFCs, the building material space would be a very good base to play the next 3 to 4 years in the mid and small cap space, essentially.
Okay, by the way, just don't lose focus on the market. I mean, look at some of these aviation stocks. SpiceJet is up 12% right now. Huge volumes being traded on SpiceJet this morning. So that's clearly the space to be in. Apart from that, the entire two-wheeler space has come alive after very strong numbers from Hero Moto. So TVS is the other one, and all these players that supply to two-wheelers. So Endurance Tech, for example, Varroc Engineering, you have Minda Industries, all of these stocks are doing pretty well. Krishna, good morning. This is a space that has caught the fancy of investors, the auto and auto ancillary space. We've got some very good numbers from Hero MotoCorp. Is this a time to be putting fresh money to work in either two-wheelers or the ancillary guys that supply to the two-wheeler OEMs?
I think, we are seeing a bit of, I would think, a bit of softness in the next few months on the two-wheeler side. The expectations are such. I think they had a very good run. So they would consolidate. I would think that incrementally, a lot of the ancillaries which benefit from either a two-wheeler recovery or a passenger car recovery or an export market or a commercial vehicle recovery, I think that's the space to be in now. You need to allocate more towards the auto angs, which again have a multiple set of drivers at this point in time and not just depend upon one sector of the auto side. So I think auto angs, then those ones which are also an export bias also would be the ones which would be in play in the next 12 to 24 months.
Okay. Krishna, you know that the rally in the small cap, the big rally, iconic rally was in 2017 when that index grew 60% and the mid cap index rose 40%. Are you expecting something like that? Because, I mean, already from the March lows, both these indexes are up by about 30-40%. But do you think 2021 can be that kind of a year for mid caps and small caps?
See, this the new bull market, which started off from the panic bottoms of March, I think is probably just less than a year old, and we had about roughly 50% kind of returns in the large cap indices and about 60 to 70% in the mid and small cap indices. So slowly, I think if the mid cap and small caps will enjoy a further run. Because if you look at those 3 years from December 17, when the markets peaked, according to me, from a broad market perspective, the small cap index is still about 25% below the peak of December 17. The mid cap index also is somewhere about 15% below its peak. So while we have grown in terms of profits, etc., and look forward for a better growth in 22 and 23, the valuations are very much in favor at probably a discount of 15 to 20% to the large caps compared to a premium of 20% in 2017. So we are very well set from a valuation perspective, from a liquidity perspective, and domestic rate cycle also is very, very favorable, with an operating leverage that will kick in as the economy kind of ramps up in the next 24 months, which will give a lot of push on operating leverage, and also the interest cost benefits that the companies are going to benefit. I think it's going to be very good times for mid and small caps in the next 2 years.
Okay, Krishna,
we can have a very good run, whether it's 40-60%, but I think we will have a very steady uptick in mid and small caps as the market breadth widens in the next 2 years.
Okay, yes, we are seeing that actually. Look at the mid-cap index is now comfortably in the green. Advanced decline is now in favor of the advancing stocks. Krishna, you've had stocks like Laurus and Thyrocare in your mid and small cap funds. Made a lot of money, but is this space now getting overcrowded, or do you just stay put here?
See, pharma, again, like we discussed earlier, very specific in terms of which spaces within pharma, which companies. So there is a lot of incentive that is also coming through the government on bulk manufacturing, etc. In addition to the fact that some of these companies you mentioned have huge capacities that are coming in for, and also customer contracts. So we would definitely remain positive on some of the pharma sectors which have good visibility in terms of customer contracts, etc. On the diagnostic space, I think even though we might have a vaccine coming through, but in terms of testing, antibodies available, etc., I think it's going to become like a normal thyroid test or a normal blood test, the COVID test. So I think we're going to see continuance of COVID tests, helping the diagnostic companies maintain a certain path of growth. In addition to that, there is definitely a path wherein there's a huge consolidation happening in the diagnostic space. The unorganized guys, the small guys are giving way to the larger national chains, and that will continue given the kind of bandwidth of management that is required. So these listed companies and the diagnostics will continue to be compounding stories, if not a re-rating story. I think they've re-rated already. It'll be more a compounder, basically, in terms of stock performance.
All right. Krishna, thank you very much for joining us and putting the spotlight on where the market wants it to be on mid and small caps, and saying that they might be the flag bearers of the rally from here on. Thank you very much for joining us. Okay, we have yet another breaking report, if you please. This is the Credit Suisse India Financial Tracker. It comes every quarter after the results season, and important because the author, Ashish Gupta, was the first to flag the NPAs way back in 2012, and basically all the AQR started after that. So this is a report that everybody in the banking sector and in the investment community look forward to, and I think this is the most positive report that Ashish Gupta has written in the last 5 years. They actually look at about 3,700 companies, which is 80% or 85% of all corporate debt, and find out how many companies have interest which is more than their EBITDA, which means they are stressed. So with that acid test where the interest cover is there at all, they find out that that kind of stress is down to 35%. And I must tell you what is compared with. In Q1, it was 55%. And in the last 5 years, it has ranged between 40 and 50%. So this is a sharp fall in the extent of stressed debt. That is companies whose interest outgo is more than their EBITDA. And then they go on to say which are the ones that have actually brought this percentage down. Metals, telecom are the most important companies, sectors that have come down in stressed debt. Metals have come down because their EBITDA has grown. Their EBITDA has grown because metal prices have increased. So they say in the second quarter, metal EBITDA grew by 45% year on year. I mean, we saw Tata Steel results. And compared to the quarter ago, it's 2.5 times higher, the EBITDA, which is why they're able to service their interest. And so metal companies itself have accounted for 40% of the fall in stress debt. Telecom sector also has seen a fall in stress debt because Bharti has moved out of that list. Power sector, some improvement, but not much. There are still companies where the interest is more than the EBITDA. And then they go on to say that most of the banks have admitted that they don't have too much of restructuring cases. They are therefore expecting a big fall, a moderation in the provisioning, in the credit cost in the second half, and that will directly go to profit and improve the ROE, the return on equity. Their preferred picks: Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank and State Bank. But it is very important. It's a comment on the entire corporate sector that the amount of stress debt is down by 20 percentage points.
Absolutely.
Big improvement.
I think also, it's reflected in many of the stocks, right? And the way they've moved. I mean, just look at the banks that have an exposure to the corporate sector. ICICI Bank, Kotak Mahindra Bank, Axis Bank have all done very well over the last fortnight or so. But let's do one thing. Let's invite a management now. Now that the festive season is behind us, how was consumer demand this time around? Did we see more buyers enter markets? And in general, what is the trend expected? S. Subramaniam, the CFO at Titan, joins us now to give us a sense of which way things are headed. Mr. Subramaniam, good morning and greetings of the season to you and your entire team at Titan as well.
Thank you so much. Wish you the same. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. You said that you'd seen high single-digit sales in the festive season until 20 days back. Do you have more clarity right now? What has the growth been in total, and where have you seen the maximum traction come through from?
Yeah, I think it's been better actually than what we thought about earlier. Now that the Dussehra Diwali season is practically over, we've actually seen growth quite good in the jewelry business. We're actually at mid-teens now. That's very good news. We've seen traction across the entire 30-day period. Of course, due to COVID, we wanted to even out the roughs and the troughs and the highs, right? So that we don't have problems with social distancing and so on and so forth. Therefore, we had our schemes which are running across the period. And even then, we did have the Dhanteras peak. We did see the Dhanteras peak. Of course, this time Dhanteras was practically over 2 days. And that helped also in reducing the rush into the stores. But therefore, overall, I think we are very happy. 15%, I mean...
Okay. So, 1 minute, Mr. Subramaniam. When you say 15%, I assume you mean festival season over festival season?
Yes. Festival season over 15%.
Do you feel, therefore, that you can, your year-to-date, how does it compare year-to-date? And therefore, what are the expectations for FY21?
Well, year-to-date will not be comparable because obviously the first quarter and the second quarter...
I agree they're not comparable, but I just want to know how much you'll have caught up.
Well, we've caught up a lot because this quarter, I would be disappointed if we actually don't grow. Okay. So which means that at least the jewelry business, we are definitely looking at growth.
Okay.
Whereas in the other two businesses, we are generally close to catching up. Okay. That's what I would say we are.
So
watches and eyewear are still not at the growth level, but they are catching up.
Okay. What about studded jewelry? Have consumer taste moved from gold to studded jewelry? I mean, I guess you normally identify that as wedding demand.
That's not actually wedding demand. For us, wedding demand is actually only plain gold jewelry, but studded jewelry has picked up. That's the good part. So we are seeing people now willing to spend more on discretionary products, and therefore we are seeing the studded ratio coming back to some semblance of normalcy that we used to have in the past. That's a good part also. Okay. Gold coin sale also has not been as high as it was in the previous 2 quarters. It's actually coming back to some sort of normal levels because gold prices have also corrected, right? So I think we are generally seeing a return to normalcy, and we are happy that it's coming a little earlier than what we thought.
Okay, so that's a pleasure to hear, a return to normalcy. That's what you'd like to hear, right, at this point. But, the company in the last 2 months has been in the eye of a storm. It's been more to do with the controversy regarding the advertisements than sales itself. How is the company tackling this brand image crisis that it's going through?
I really don't want to talk about this much because I'm not really the expert here. But having said that, yes, I think lessons learned. We will have to be careful in how we communicate going forward. And nothing else that I want to add here.
Okay. All right. If you have to crystal ball gaze, I know it's tough, but for the year FY21, do you expect that you will be able to beat FY20?
Oh, no way.
Okay.
No,
All
you
right, so
can't beat
Q1
what
will
happened
win.
in the first half. No, for Q1 was almost a washout.
No, I'll tell you why I'm asking you, because your associate company, Indian Hotels, is on record stating that they don't have banquet halls. There are so many people who have, asking for weddings and other such ceremonies. So it does look like the normalcy is
coming back.
returning with the
No,
pent-up rage. Therefore, I'm asking you.
No, you're right. And I think, therefore, what would be fair is to look at the second half and see how we are growing vis-a-vis last year. That would be a fair comparison. And that would include even IHCL, I'm sure, because the first half was pretty much a washout for most of us. So and particularly first quarter. Second quarter, we did come back. If you see how strongly we came back in second quarter, at least 90+% in the jewelry business. But we are still only at 60% in the watch business and the eyewear business in the second quarter. We are catching up now. So second half, I think, yes, we should be good.
Have you all dusted up your store expansion plans? Where do they stand now?
It's continuing. We expect to open something like 30-35 stores this year.
Okay.
And we would, I think, continue that growth next year because, and the good news here is that tier 3, tier 4 have continued to do well. And now in this season, the festive season, we started seeing tier 1, tier 2 metros also picking up because people have started coming out more, even in metros like Delhi and Mumbai, Chennai, etc. So that's the good part. And therefore, I think growth will come back.
What's the urban-rural split for Titan, and do you think that urban market, this return to growth could be short-lived because of the rising cases that we're seeing, say, in metros like Delhi?
I don't know. It's a little too early to call out that because Delhi is possibly the only city where we are seeing that. Bangalore, for example, was worrying about a month, 2 months back. It's now come down significantly, whereas Mumbai also is coming off, and so I don't know. It's going to be and secondly, the feeling we get is that people are saying, yes, we will have to live with this, but we'll also get on to live with our lives. So, which is why the example of Indian Hotels was absolutely appropriate.
All right. We will leave it at that, Mr. Subramaniam. Pleasure speaking with you, not the least because you have told us that there is a mid-teen growth that you saw in festive season demand. Yes, some other sectors will have to catch up. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great balance of 2020 and a great 2021.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Okay. We are going to take a break and come back with another sector from whom we are going to get the same feel. Is growth good? Is growth back? Anish Shah, the